Hello, everybody. Welcome back to One Leeds. Welcome back to the debrief. We are at last returning with a debrief. It's been a while. It's been inconsistent, but we're trying to get the consistency back. We've got a bumper show for you tonight. We've got lots of positives around Leeds United, and we have a special guest as well, a returning guest who we're absolutely buzzing to have on the show. But we'll start with Gabe. How you doing, mate? All good?
Just reading a certain someone's Wikipedia page, which I didn't know existed. This is a long one.
Right, okay. Any relevancy to what you're talking about? Is everyone just
introduce the other guest and you'll find out.
All right, okay. Next up, Oscar. How you doing, mate?
I'm intrigued.
It's not Oscar.
Wikipedia page you're on.
Yeah, it's not Oscar.
Why would Oscar have a Wikipedia page?
That's a great question. Oscar didn't even know man of history, though.
It's a fantastic question. Jay's in the building says, "Evening, Zilly's up." This is all. Go on, have a go at saying that, Oscar.
I'm just proofreading it first before I say it.
What,
Zilly sausage?
Mate, it's important. You've done quite well there, to be fair. Damar says, I've been watching some of the playoff semi-final to get me in the spooky Halloween feeling. Evening, lad, says Carlos. Right, okay. Oh, my God. Is it the man, the myth, the legend? Well, positivity is surrounding Ellen Road at the minute. It's 4 wins out of 5. Goals galore at the weekend. Somerville involved in 4 goals. And, it's a real good vibe at Ellen Road at the minute. So who else could we get on but Mr. David Brown?
I told you the Championship were better than that stupid Premier League rubbish. Anyway, much more enjoyable.
Exactly, mate. How are you doing? Everyone wants to know what's been going on, mate. You've been a busy boy, haven't you? Let everybody know. Everyone's been asking about you on every stream, and everyone's buzzing to have you back, mate.
There's just not enough time in the day, is there? It's just life, mate. Just getting old and here, there, and everywhere. And obviously, the Championship's got more games involved on it, so some weekends I'm all over the place. Obviously, with work and Leeds games and whatnot, it's difficult to cram everything in. But yeah, like you say, it's positive. It's good to watch football again, isn't it? Because we've what's the right word? We've been
shite, mate. It's been shit. Just saying,
haven't we? We've been starved of good football. So yeah, with it being Halloween, I thought I'd come on and scare a few.
Yeah, mate.
I don't know how he has time. I mean, this Wikipedia page is longer than Barack Obama's. It's pretty impressive.
Because he adds to that every day. He doesn't tell you that. but Brownie, so what's been going on then, mate? Is it home and away Leeds? Obviously, having that with Sheffield Wednesday, the academy coach at the minute. Is it all that sort of stuff? It must be. I can't believe you got enough time, to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah, it's difficult. So obviously, like last week, obviously there was a Stoke away on the Wednesday, Norwich on the Saturday, and then I was at Blackburn Rovers with Chef Wednesday on the Sunday. So we're in a tournament with Blackburn and Newcastle. So it's football. So it's nice to have a bit of time off to join you boys again.
Yeah, mate. Just how we like it. So I guess we'll come to you first then, mate. Obviously, it's been a while since we've done this, as the boys will attest to. It's probably been about 2 weeks now, and we've not really consistently been doing it. It's been difficult, as you say, Brownie. Sometimes it can be a nightmare with these 2 games a week because you're fitting in shows, but now there's 2 games. You need to get a preview out and a review out. It's chaos. But what have you made of it so far, anyway, mate? Have you been enjoying what you've been seeing? Are you convinced with Daniel Farke? What's just sort of a brief overview of what's going on at the minute at the club?
For me, quickly, I mean, I think we can all agree we're sitting 3rd in the league, and I still don't believe that we've really hit a peak. I don't think we're really at our best yet, and we're sat 3rd. I mean, we called it before the season. It's not a great division. It's really not. You come down with so much firepower now. I mean, you just see the top 4. It's got the 3 relegated sides in it. I fully believe we'd be right in the mix, and it's positive. Between now and the end of the season, which is a long season, we've got to win 3 or 4 more games in Ipswich at this present time, which is more than doable. I think we all saw Leicester being the one to be in the top 2. I mean, their team is quite ridiculous, but as is ours. And I just think over the course of a 46-game season, the strength in depth that we can call upon, and money needed in January if we do need to, I just think it will be too much for and Ipswich, who are doing really, really well themselves. Let's not mistake it; they are doing fantastic themselves. But I think it's a Leeds Leicester 1-2, and nothing's really changed my mind on that.
Yeah, Oscar. Obviously, Brownie's speaking there about pretty, convinced of a Leeds Leicester 1-2. It sort of just confirms how sort of massive this game is on Friday night, mate. How are you feeling going into it? Are you of the same mindset now? I mean, Ipswich, Brownie, we've spoken about it numerous times, mate. But Oscar, the two that have started, it's two anomalies. We've never seen it before in the Championship. Yeah. I mean, what's the state of play in your head at the minute?
Well, yeah, at the minute, on their points per game, I think both Ipswich and Leicester are absolutely sailing past 100 points. And you're not going to get two teams who finish on 100 plus points. I'm still saying that now. Ipswich will have moments in the season where they do drop off a little bit. Obviously, it's massive on Friday. I think the biggest thing is try not to get beat. I'm not saying we need to go there and park the bus or anything, but get something from the game. Or at the very least, we've got to show we can go toe-to-toe with Leicester. But to be fair, Daniel Farke's record in these games is really good. I mean, we all remember when he took his Norwich team to Welland Road and they just played us off the park. Okay, that Southampton away game was a bit of a wobbly one for us. We messed up there. But, I mean, you can get Joe Rodon on the pitch on Friday. That's absolutely massive. I know it's not all about one player, but that is massive for us, getting Joe Rodon back.
You don't want to be going up against Leicester.
No, without Rodon in
the back there. No,
that's it. That's the main thing for me. That back four needs to be balanced and settled, and I think it is. When we have our first choice there, but massive on Friday, no doubt about it. Potentially, we could go 11 or 12 points behind Ipswich this weekend. That is the reality we face. But I still think even at that, it's still doable. I think Ipswich, the way they play, very high intensity, very high pressing. They don't keep a lot of the ball compared to ourselves and Leicester, so they are chasing after the ball a lot more than us and Leicester. And I think at this level, when you're playing 46 games a season, Saturday, Tuesday, I think eventually it might start to tell. If they get an injury to, say, Broadhead, Leif Davis or Chaplin, I think it hurts Ipswich quite a bit. They're a good team, don't get me wrong, and I think it is going to be close, the battle. Even if we can close it up on them, I don't think it's just going to go away. But we can still do it, no doubt about it. When we get our best 11 on the pitch, people like Jed Spence back into the sides, that right-hand side just goes up another level. We can put a run together ourselves. Farke's done this before with his Norwich teams. They've been behind at this point in the season. Okay, not this far back, but we're not kind of that far off what typically a Daniel Farke team would be doing at this point in the season. So I'm not too concerned. I think that Stoke one was a bad one for us. I think it was a really bad one in terms of it killed the momentum a little bit. If you look at that, we win that game, it just puts a different kind of psychological feel on it, doesn't it, being only six back? But listen, it's a long season. We'll have other nights like that, other games like that this season, which will frustrate us. The season we went up, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. The season we went up, we still lost to people like Wigan at home, drew at home to Luton. Some really, really poor results along the way. Lost to QPR, of course. It will happen. It's a championship. And I think Leicester as well will win the league, but they will have moments themselves where they have a dodgy result or two. They almost did on Saturday at QPR. QPR were down to 10 men, didn't even Harry Winks, screamer to win it. So, it's still all to play for me. Maybe not so much for first, but definitely for second.
Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, unless we think that statistically 3 teams in this division should have win rates that have never been seen before in the division, which would be the case if Leeds had won the matches that we wanted them to win, myself included, then kind of logic sort of dictates that one of these two teams at the top are going to slow down. For me, it's probably going to be Ipswich. Ipswich quality of side isn't quite as good. They're not as deep. This is a very long season. The football quality in this division may not be great, but it's still a tough division to play in. And it's not a matter of thinking that we're just going to think our way into top 2, but you just look at the win rate for the top 2 teams and you look at those squads and say, which one of these 2 squads can sustain this and which one of them is most likely to drop off. I think Leeds has performed, I don't want to say as well as expected. I think probably a little bit better than expected in most statistical categories. I think that what surprised me, though, the biggest issues that we were talking about in the offseason were the defense. I think, when Rodon and Pascal Struck play together, we're talking about top 4 in lowest goals against, which is really, really good. We have a couple areas in the squad that need strengthening, prominently at the goalkeeper position. I mean, some of the statistics, and I'll get to it later, we're really, really poor. But by and large, I mean, it's talking about what happened at the end of last season and where we're at now. We're still in striking distance of second place. That's where I want to land. And I think it's hot hand fallacy to just believe that both of those teams at top are going to continue at a rate the championship has never seen before. It's just, I can buy it happening once, but I can't buy it happening twice. So for that reason, I think, and Farkas got us in good position to strike and get that second spot. I know that we've nitpicked at certain things, but that's what you have to do in order to, create content. It doesn't mean that we think things are bad. You have to find areas of improvement. And I think we have some. And yeah, I mean, to Oscar's point, looking at, some of the matches, the QPR match, Norwich match, and Bristol City, these weren't resounding wins. But we got the results. And I think, you would like to see things but even though, I mean, every fan coming out of the match against Huddersfield felt sort of like we left some stuff on the pitch. We won 4-1. So if that's like what we're going to be experiencing and feeling this season, then I'm quite happy with that. And I'm not so superstitious as to think that we're not going to be successful if we're in one of the playoff spots. I'd rather an automatic promotion, but I'm just not superstitious. I think we're a better team than the other guys in the third, fourth, fifth, sixth positions. I know we're in third right now, but I just think that we're better poised to go up.
The other thing for me on this is, I mean, we're still in October, and I mean, suspensions haven't even kicked in yet. 4 parts must be cursed, obviously, because we have our fair share of injuries 24/7. But when you go deep into a championship season, when players are picking up 2-game suspensions for 10 yellow cards and 1-game suspension for 5 yellow, that is when a squad is there. Your starting 11 has to be stronger. You have to have other guys to come in and make it just as strong. And I think when you look at Leeds, I think, dear me, it's an embarrassment of riches in some positions. The squad in some areas shouldn't even be any question not making a top 2.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, Ipswich, I think, are at their peak right now. I don't think Ipswich are going to get any better than what they are right now.
Can't.
Obviously, what they're doing is amazing, in terms of what they're just churning out wins week in, week out. We can still go up at least another gear. There's still another gear to go up for Leeds. I think Perot, he's been a little bit quiet last couple of games, but he's still got 5 goals in 10. He's still hitting 1 in 2, so he can still go up another gear. We can still, we can put together like a 9, 10 wins at 12 kind of run for us. You're never going to get 10 on the bounce, but we can put a crazy run like that together, and all of a sudden it'll look very different. I still think we can go up another level. And that first half against Huddersfield shows how good we can be. Yeah, I know Huddersfield were poor.
They stink.
But I think it was a bit both, wasn't it? I think we were really good. They were really terrible, weren't they? But the look at the Watford game, a month ago, we can still go up another gear. There's no doubt about it. We're winning games at the minute on individual quality from Rutter, individual quality from Somerville, Perot, Dan James last couple of weeks as well.
Yeah.
But we can still go up another gear, and that's a scary thing for other teams at this level. As Brownie said, we've got to be like Willie Nonto on the bench, who's struggling to get back into the team. He walks into an Ipswich. He's probably one of Ipswich's best players, if we're being honest. If he goes into that team,
he walks. I think to be honest, he walks into a lot of Premier League attacks as well.
Yeah,
exactly. Let's not forget we went to Ipswich and put 4 past them.
And Brownie for a lot of that as well. I mean, I remember saying it to a couple of the lads I was speaking to at the time. Like and a lot of people forget this because Ipswich came into it towards the end, which is what Ipswich are all about. It's just grinding down through a system. But for about 20 minutes in that game, especially when we hit 1, 2, 3, that could have been 7. We were all over them like a rash.
A lot of games this season, Connor, mate. Could have, I mean, even the Stoke game, even at 1-0, we had some glorious chances. Like in every game this season, I mean, I think back to Sheffield Wednesday where we drew 0-0. Rutter's gone through one-on-one with the keeper. We've had some really good. He's gone through one-on-one with the keeper at Hull, and I know every team can say this. Oh, we had this chance, but we are creating so many chances in games. I mean, is
the miss of the season for you, Brownie? That Hull miss though, their miss against us.
from what we've had in the last 18 months, mate, I think we've been due a bit of luck.
Yeah, we have.
That was just nailed on 1-0, that going in the net.
Yeah.
But I think in that particular game, if Rutter scores the 1-on-1 when he goes through in the first half, you're looking at a game where we probably go on and win 3 or 4. It's just in the games. I mean, I try not to look at the first 5 or 6 games of the season, because what the transition we had to go through in that period of time was something that I don't really think any fan could have accounted for. Players refusing to play, players not training when we're training, players saying they want to stay and then they're rocking up at different training grounds. It was a turbulent time, and it has set us back a good 3 or 4 games. And I just looked to the Watford at home game was probably where we finally saw Leeds start to kick on. And since then, I think we've won 5 out of 7. So you've started to see like an upward trajectory since then. Gabe, I think you're right with saying Huddersfield stink. They were horrendous. Ipswich drew with them, by the way.
Yeah.
Ipswich drew 1-1 with Huddersfield. And this is the point. I just think over the course of the season, they're going to have a few more results like that, whereas I just think we've just got too much.
I don't know about you, but I think the interesting thing, what I noticed with Ipswich is away from home, they seem to get the job done sort of 1-0 or 2-1 quite often. But I've noticed at home, there is so many goals when Ipswich are playing. It's 3-2, it's 4-3, it's 5-3. It's ridiculous. Like the score lines are ridiculous. Like even Plymouth at the weekend, who were really unlucky. They were lucky against Bristol City. I think the ball almost span off the line, didn't it? And then the Ipswich player cleared it off the line. It does feel at the minute that with Leicester, you look at Leicester and you think it's just clinical. You know, it's unfortunately, they've just got so much quality that they can just put teams away. With Ipswich, they are putting teams away, but teams are hurting them as well, big time. And you wonder at some point, is that going to change a little bit? It's going to have to give at some point.
Take a lot out of them physically as well. You know, that's the big thing for me. Physically, it's going to start to tell that.
I just don't think it's sustainable. Winning games 3-2, 4-3 every week. I mean, you're right with Leicester, Connor. I mean, they've won 9 on the bounce and they've only conceded 4 goals in the last 9 games. It's more of like a machine. Just get the job done. Next one, get the job done. Whereas with Ipswich, I do feel, and I think Southampton will be thinking the same. They've come into it a little bit. They're 4th. They'll probably be having the same conversation that we are, as Ipswich being the one to probably catch. It's a long old season though.
I also think too that when I'm looking at these teams top to bottom, a number of you have already said that, you know, we've got at least a better side on paper that should be in one of those top 2 positions. I think the only position that I'm looking at, and I'm hoping into January we make a major purchase, is the goalkeeping position. Save percentage, we're 5th from bottom. That's not good enough for a club that's trying to go up. Goalkeeper passing, we're 6th from bottom in all statistical categories. It's either 5 or 6. And we're not giving up a lot of when we had that center half pairing starting, we're not giving up a lot of easy chances. But when we do, even the quality of chances isn't necessarily high, and it's just going in at a rate. I mean, a 64% save percentage.
Careful, Gabe. Careful.
Not good.
I got slaughtered. I've been slaughtered for the last 2 years, mate. Careful. I mean, I got to the point
I'm happy to stand on your shoulders here, Brownie, when it comes to this, because when we're just looking at areas to improve and you're looking at statistical categories, I think the only thing that's really washed over from the last couple seasons outside of the goalkeeping is that we're not clinical enough in front of goal. I mean, it's 12th in shot accuracy, despite being 2nd in shots created per 90 minutes. So that's something that we want to see improve. But like, as long as we're getting the chances, it will. And we also have a bunch of young players. I mean, Jorginho, I know he looks like a man this season, but it wasn't so long ago. He looked like a baby deer, and he's still like, what, 19, 20? He's a young kid. Somerville's a young kid. I mean, none of these guys are old. Even Pirro, who looks like an old man out there sometimes, is not old. You know, so
I
know young players miss chances.
Level game by game.
Yeah, and it just happens, right? Doesn't it?
That performance from him first half. I mean, if he can, you know, produce another, he's not going to play like that every single week. It's unrealistic. But if he can produce another games like that, he wins them on his own. Like yesterday, like Huddersfield, 2 goals, 2 assists. He's won the game on his own effectively. We were absolutely dominant, of course. But
And
that
this
is the level we're talking about here at the top end of the pitch. I don't think we've got any problem scoring goals this season. I think
No, and that's the point, Oscar. Like if we're going to try to contend for an automatic promotion spot or go into a playoff with any hopes of winning, we need to have. There's going to be some matches where the young players don't play well. That's just going to happen. We're going to be under pressure. We need to have a goalkeeper that isn't going to give us bottom 5 statistical category.
Oh, I totally agree, mate. I totally agree with. I think we're probably all in agreement on Meslier. He's definitely. I don't like the word weak link, but at this moment in time, you look at him playing out the back. He doesn't look comfortable playing out the back. I don't think he ever has really. Even under Bielsa, I didn't think his ball playing was that good. I think people massively overrated that. I think it's all based on that Arsenal Cup game, his debut.
He burst onto the scene. He looked like Baresi, didn't he? And Beckenbauer putting balls all over.
Yeah, it was amazing. But there was no pressure on him in that game. Like the Arsenal players weren't pressing him or anything like that. I think as soon as teams start to smell blood, the fact that
do you remember when we did go back to Arsenal and I think it was Eddie who was putting pressure on him and he made a mistake.
He gave the penalty away. I mean, last season I feel like I've said it for the last 2 years. If you shoot at our goal, it goes in. And there was that period of time last year where I think something daft like 11 shots on target.
You said hologram last season, didn't you?
Yeah, and then all I got back at me last year was, well, look at the defence in front of him.
Now it's an elite defence.
And you kind of buy into that, obviously. And you're playing in a league where you've got strikers like Haaland, Kane, Son, Salah, etc., bearing down on your goal. So, and he did come under a lot of shots. But I just think you see things like at the weekend against Huddersfield. That shouldn't be a goal. But I don't want to go down a negative route. But I do agree that, and I fought it for a couple of years, that and the other thing that got through back at me is, he'll go to Chelsea or Real Madrid or Juventus or he'll be at Man United. Well, nobody really came in for him, did they? I mean,
he's not good enough for his feet for a top team. You're not going to pull up with that. Imagine someone like a Pep or a Tuchel or something like that putting up with Meslier not being able to play out the back.
I wouldn't have him in MLS.
No.
I mean, I remember going to it was under Bielsa, Norwich away. Rafinha scored. I can't remember the goal. We scored, and then we conceded within 60 seconds. He gave a corner away. He kicked it out for a corner, and he crossed it in and headed it in, and it was 1-1 within seconds. But then he'll do something unbelievable. His shot stopping is. I remember one game this season. I think it might have been West Brom at home. He made an unbelievable save when we were level. So he does that have in his locker, but like Oscar says, with his feet, there's a massive question mark.
What have I done? I've gotten us talking about Meslier.
He's competition though as well. Like Darlow in the cup hasn't convinced. Let's be honest. Darlow is not putting pressure on him. So it's something we've got to look at. Even if it's a backup, a quality backup, or something like that, I
think we need to buy a new starter, spend big money on a good keeper that's older. Maybe their best Premier League days are behind them. And bring them in because, honestly, it's just for me. Anyway, I'm sorry, Connor. I've derailed. It's got us talking about Illan Meslier for the past 10 minutes. I knew Brownie being here. I was like, we got to get him talking about Meslier.
Let's get some chat on Tyler Roberts now. Come on, let's
I think going into it, I think we can all agree that this Leicester City game has a completely different complexion to if Rodon's playing, to if Rodon's not playing. I mean. Oh, yeah. How impressive has he been so far? He is in the mould of Ben White, isn't he? Still different players, but, it's almost for me that reliability thing with him. Like, when I saw him, I know it sounds daft, but when Shackleton made that, error, and he just comes from out of nowhere. You always rely on him. You always know he's going to accurately get the ball, not give a penalty away. And I just think he's top draw. I really do. And, there's been a lot of chat at the minute about going in for him in January, spending 10, 15 million and just going in for him and getting him on a permanent transfer. But he's been top draw, hasn't he, Brownie? Really, really top signing.
What's that? Sorry.
Joe Rodon.
Yeah, mate, yeah. It has a bit of a Ben White feel to it, doesn't it? Player coming on loan, centre half, looks cool as a cucumber, comfortable with the ball, bit of a leader. You can see the passion in him whenever he scores a goal. He's first one there celebrating. You saw his reaction.
When Bamford puts it over the bar, he's the first one reacting.
You saw his reaction when Bamford nearly hit me on the head with his penalty.
Had to do it.
It's one of them where I think for him personally as well, is he going to play at Tottenham? Probably not. He needs a bit of a home, doesn't he? So if Leeds were to get promoted, I think it would be a good addition, yeah, definitely. Because when you look at our centre half alternatives, I mean, you've got Juventus, Roma. That's the Halloween. There's your Halloween element. There you go. Christensen, he's played there. Ayling's played there. Cooper's played there. I don't know the situation with Creswell. He just doesn't seem to get a look in with whoever plays. So yeah, I think that's. I remember saying this towards the back end of last year, towards the end of the season. We spent a fortune over the last few years on attacking players. When you look at Rafinha, every signing seemed to be expensive. But when you look at our back line, there wasn't a lot of investment getting put into it. There was like 15 million tops when you look at Firpo, Christensen, Juventus. There wasn't major money getting put into it. So I think you're right, mate. I think probably more than him as well. I think we need him and another because the backups don't, what's the right way to say it, fill me with a lot of confidence, so to speak.
Now, what about at the right left back position? I mean, I know we keep kind of holding water for Jed Spence, hoping he gets back and delivers what we think he can deliver. But the truth is, we've not seen him really for Leeds United yet. We don't know what he's going to be. I know there is a track record in the championship for him on loan. He's done well, so it's not criticism of Spence. But we also have Byram, who's been playing really, really well, but he's playing out of position, right? He's playing at the left back. And then we've had a sort of a carousel at right back filling in. I don't like the amount of utilization Archie Gray is getting, and I know that he plays, in the back for England youth team, but I think we want to see him in his natural position, rotating in that midfield. Obviously everybody knows my opinion on Luke Ayling. That being said, I don't think we've lost a match when he started, which is a weird statistic. What is there business you think we need to do? Like, I don't think we'll ever see Junior Firpo play for the club again. I'm not sure if he's interested in getting into full fitness. I know that's perhaps a real judgy thing to say. I'm not in the know, but that's just my personal opinion. What do you guys think? Like, if you're making the decisions on who to bring into the club, what positions are you targeting, and why is it those outside back positions and goalkeeper?
Well, I think centre-back, you look at it in terms of, I agree with what Brandy's saying, that the drop-off is massive when Rodon, or I think, to be fair, Sharp's played every game, but Rodon, when he comes out the team, is a drop-off. But I think for any team, when you've got someone like Rodon, as soon as he comes out, it's going to be a drop-off of some sort. I actually think Creswell's done okay when he's played, but I just don't understand why we opt to move Pascal out of the position where he's playing unbelievably well to the right side.
So
Come inside all the time onto his, because he's so left-footed as well. It's not like he's massively two-footed. He's incredibly left-footed. Coops is the same, massively left-footed. But with someone like Pascal, I always think he looks at his best when he's got a physical centre-half alongside him. And for me, that's Creswell or Rodon. I don't think Cooper is as imposing in that sense. Add to that as well, you have to move Strauch out of position as well. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think if Rodon isn't fit, I would personally start Creswell at Leicester and just have that physical element to the back line. He's not as good as Rodon, but you're never going to be able to develop Charlie Creswell if you don't play him when the star two centre backs aren't available. It just doesn't make sense at this moment in time.
I think that's the reason though. Surely in January, where you're looking at it, and me and Brown were having a chat earlier, and you've got if hypothetically you're choosing your best 11. You're looking at Spence as that starting right back, and then secondary it's got to be Shackleton, and then Ayling. You've got at least a three there. I'm not saying it's a competent three throughout that 1, 2, and 3, but when you're looking at a centre back choice, it's becoming a little bit clear now. I think that you maybe need to be dipping into the market. If he said it was a loan signing, didn't he? He said we've got 2 loan signings available, and if you can go in, dip into a centre back and a left back, maybe that's the way forward. I just don't know if Cooper is that man who you can rely on in the big games. I don't know.
I think it's funny. I mentioned Juventus and Connor goes offline.
You went and got sick in the toilet.
I'm sure you said Christensen after. That's why I bailed.
Yeah, but going back to you, Oscar, about the right. I mean, it was Shackleton who played the striker on side at the weekend, and it was him who, the first half, I don't know what he's trying when he's chested it down and Rodon's got across and tackled well. I mean, the game at Hull away, it looked like Shackleton won a competition to play for the night, to be honest. He was just
a throw-in competition.
It was awful. So I think Spence coming back in. I mean, I think he comes straight back in. It can't get any worse. I don't like Archie Gray there because it takes him out of the middle. Although I do think Kamara's becoming a better and better player the more we see him. Shackleton, Ayling, I love Ayling.
Right. Tell us what you actually think this season of Luke Ayling. Come on.
Well, like Oscar says, Gabe says we've not lost a game when he started. But
by the way, where do you think I saw that statistic? Brownie's the only one on Twitter that put that up there.
I remember in pre-season when I said Ayling is still ahead of Cody Drama, and I got pounded. Cody Drama is now at Birmingham, right? So I think a little
playing
bit
for the world-class manager Wayne Rooney with a 27% MLS win percentage.
Right.
What a guy!
He went in when they were 5th. They're now 14th. He's doing class, isn't he?
Yeah.
But
lost 4 straight. What a king!
For me, Ayling's best days are behind him. His legs are gone. But he's still ahead of Shackleton for me because honestly, he looks like Bambi on ice at times, Shackleton. I think Shackleton's amazing, much better going forward. I think the problem for Shackleton is...
You don't think he's amazing going forward. He's much better going forward.
I don't know what his best position is.
Nah. He's like a utility knife. And
I
like
don't
we need
know what,
specific jobs.
If you said to Shackleton, where are you going to play Shackleton? Play him in his best position. And I don't know where I don't know where he is. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I feel a little bit for him actually because he keeps getting put in different places. He was at left back at Hull. He was right back. Then he's played centre midfield. He was left back at Ipswich. It can't be easy to be constantly having to play in different roles. So that I will defend him in that situation. But yeah, Spence all day long, every day, twice on Sunday at right back for me. And that's with only seeing him for about 15 minutes against Sheff Wednesday. Because, going full circle, it's that back line that we haven't really invested in. Even the keeper, we've not really invested in that. We spent 5 million on Melier and a few 100,000 on Darlow. So I think
that's why I'm the same, really, Brownie. I'm a little bit like, when I look at the team overall, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, there's a lot there. There is a lot there. I'm looking at the midfield, really happy with what I'm seeing there. Really, really happy. The offensive department is a joke. It really is a joke. And there's an argument. It is better than Leicester's. There's an argument there. But I think the back line, I don't know about you boys, but I just think at the minute it's held together by Rodon. I just think it's held together by
Rodon. And it's like in that team.
Yeah, and I know, and maybe when Spence comes back, there's obviously a little bit more balance in terms of quality. But you do look at it in terms of centre backs, and I've mentioned this on a video as well. I think Strauch really suffers being next to Cooper as well. I'm not saying that's Cooper's fault, but what I'm saying is Strauch seems to struggle being put on the right hand side of that centre back partnership naturally. Well, I think the whole back line just suffers. I think when Cooper's in there a little bit, unless the going's good. I think when we're under pressure and Cooper's in there, and maybe an Ayling's in there, I am a little bit worried. I think it goes downhill a lot. I think Rodon is just the next level, isn't he?
I think you're right, mate, and I think Oscar kind of alluded to this as well. So when Creswell's played, I don't think he's actually done bad. And I think it gives us more balance because I think he came on against Cardiff, the first game of the season at half-time. Just after Cooper scored, he got injured. Creswell came on. Strike then went to the left. And it was playing with a right-footed centre-back and a left-footed centre-back, and they could both naturally come out with the ball. Whereas I think when you put Strike next to Cooper, Cooper's the one that plays on the left, and it just kills Strike being able to play any balls because he's on his weaker foot. So I think it's massive that, and I agree with Oscar here, that if Rodon wasn't available, I'd go Creswell. I'd go Creswell on Friday night.
Yeah, I guess there's no other choice, right? I mean, I'm not convinced by Cresswell. I think his decision making's suspect, and I think he tends to be a little bit clumsy with his challenges in the box. But you're right. I mean, like, who's the alternative?
Cooper, and he will go Cooper.
He will. I think with Liam Cooper, like I know I've criticized him and Ayling quite a bit, but Liam Cooper, his style of defense, right? The way he will go for balls that are like try to turn a 50-50 out of something that's more of like a 70-30. And when you're young and you're athletic, you can sometimes do that. He's a very aggressive style center half. As he's compiled injuries, it's really difficult to like understand that your body's changed and you can't. I sound like an eighth grade teacher. Your
foot.
body's going through changes, guys.
But he's a front foot centre back. So what
He
he always
is,
tries
exactly.
to do is he tries to be proactive. So he always
Your brain
steps
tells you
forward.
you can get there. You're right,
Yeah.
Connor. Your brain tells you can get there. You can win this challenge, and then you lose challenge after challenge because you're not as fast as you used to be. You're not as strong as you used to be. I think that's what's happened.
I think Ayling's really similar, and that might be the Bielsa-ism, in terms of a player gets the ball and you're instantly pressing. I think they're both really proactive, but they've just lost a yard. So when they're proactive, especially against a really high-pressing, very good, attacking side, they're going to get caught out, and you just see that a lot now, I think, when they play.
I think we're all in agreement that the back line, the best back line for us going forward is Spence, Rodon, Struick, Byram. I think that as a back line it will keep so many clean sheets. It's solid. You've got two full-backs who will push forward, good technical quality in there, a bit of physicality in there, and Rodon. But the drop-off in the whole team when one of those is available, we've all seen, and that's too much. We've seen Leicester, they've had injuries to their centre-backs. It's not really affected them in the same way, and that's a bit of concern to me. The fact that second-half performance, it totally changed. I'm not just blaming it on Liam Cooper, but the whole performance changed after Liam Cooper came on. The crowd sort of, getting a little bit more nervous, and we're 4-1 up in the game at that point, and that's a bad sign. But
would you drop Ampadu back?
That was the other thing I was going to think. Maybe you can play Kamara and Gray ahead of him and go with that. It's an option.
You could, but is Ampadu that much better than Cresswell, who again I've been critical of at the center half position? Ampadu's like one of the best center mids in the division, right? So if you take him out of center midfield, Kamara's been really, really good. Archie Gray's had some really good performances there as well, and he's getting better and better. But I'd be really concerned about taking our advantage out of midfield for a guy who has done okay in the center half position. Certainly, I don't think is the drop off that drastic. And would you say that Cresswell is that far below Ampadu as a center half? I don't think that's necessarily the case. I wouldn't want to withdraw him. I think
as well, Gabe. I think as well, you got to look at where they're going to try hurt us. It's probably not going to be centrally. I don't think. I think a lot of it is going to be out wide. It's going to be is it Fatawu and it's going to be Mavididi, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be those two who they're going to target. So the weakest areas that I don't know if all of you agree, but especially with Spence being out, it's probably our fullback. So you'd expect Maresca to be targeting that. He's probably going to think to himself, well, our strongest point is out wide. So we'll try hurt Leeds at their weakest points. So I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm not as concerned about the centre-backs against Leicester. I think I'm more concerned about the full-backs.
Yeah, valid.
I still think, though, Ampadu and Pascal as a centre-back, if we're talking about doing it on Friday, it feels a bit weak, that to me. I'm not going to lie to you. It doesn't feel particularly physical. And, you're playing up against, say, Vardy, who's a bit streetwise, a bit nasty, very nasty.
Yeah, I bet.
I feel like you need a Rosen or Cresswell in there. Just so we don't get bullied in that area. Set pieces as well. Leicester are pretty strong on those. I wouldn't like that so much on Friday, but it's an option maybe, if we do have an injury crisis in that spot, to drop Ampadu back.
Yeah. All right, we'll get onto the Leicester game then, lads. We'll get into a few predictions. I'll say we're going to keep it short and sweet, this one. Jason says, who, if anyone, do you think we lose in January? So we'll just touch on this before I think there's potential for Nonto, definitely, especially if he's not playing.
I still think he wants out. I think he's just gotten better at keeping it to himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I said this to you earlier, Connor. He's still not. He's not put a performance in yet where I've gone, I forgive you now.
Yeah.
There's nothing really. I can't think of anything this season from the games I've been to where I've gone a bit, like at Old Trafford last year, where in the first minute he's cut inside and bent one in, and there's been nothing of that really of him this season for me. So for a good fee, I think I'd probably accept, to be honest.
And Somerville's taken his game up another level. And with the emergence of Jorginho, who I don't think either of those guys leave in January. I just don't think that.
It has to be a big bid. I'd like to think it has to be a crazy bid for us to even contemplate it.
Yeah, and I don't think those bids don't tend to come in for championship players, honestly. I'd be very surprised if somebody came in and said, "Hey, we'll give you 50 million for Jorginho." I just
Well, I think we'd all
not-
if that happened, we'd all turn around and go, that's Leeds of old, isn't it? I know the bid would be huge, but you can't give up your ace card in January.
Right.
You really
Right.
can't.
It's the teams that are be coming in for these players. They've got. You'd like to think. I mean, you look at the Adams and Sinisterra situation. They've jumped ship to go and play in the Premier League, and they could have signed for a team that are going to be in the Championship next year. So the teams that are going to be looking at them sort of players are going to be like your Burnleys, your Bournemouths. Palace might have a look at Somerville maybe with Zaha going and not really replacing them. But Everton, when they took Harrison, if you're going to leave Leeds, this is just me personally speaking, you've got to leave and have some ambition about yourself. And that's what disappointed me with the likes of Harrison and Sinisterra leaving the most. And Adams, to be fair, because I mean, 1 minute Adams is signing for Chelsea, then he ends up at Bournemouth,
and he's not going to play. Not going to play all season.
So I think in January, I think players, I think they've got to be. If they are thinking about leaving, they've got to think long term rather than a bit short term. Because the ones that have jumped ship this summer, I can't think of one that's probably, if you ask them honestly, are happy that they've done it. Because not really any of, maybe Harrison, maybe. He's scored at Everton, and I don't think they, unless they get a big points deduction, look like they're going to be in any trouble. That's purely because of how bad the Premier League is this season. Because at the bottom of that Premier League is going to be a disgrace. So yeah, I don't think anything of major note will leave in January. To be fair.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go. Well, we'll do score predictions to end it off, lads. Brownie being the guest, mate. What are your thoughts, Leicester? We'll do it in the event that Rodon is fit.
I'm a bit like Oscar at the start. I think it's very important we don't get beat. I'm going to draw 1-1, 2-2.
Drawing on together again, huh?
We'll go 2-2. I think it'd be a good result. I do think it'd be. It stops there. 9 on the spin. It halts them a little bit. Another point on the board for us, obviously. So yeah, I think I'd be happy coming out of Filbert Street with a point.
Yeah, nostalgia. Yeah, definitely. I think. Yeah, I mean, I'd take a point now. Gabe, what are you going with?
I'm going to be a little bit optimistic this week since it's Halloween. It's a
right
holiday of wonder and imagination. 3-2 Leeds.
3-2 Leeds. Mm-hmm. Oscar.
I'm similar to Brownie. I think 1-1. I think both teams will just go at each other. I think Leicester have got nothing to lose, have they? They're going to play on the front foot. I think we'll do the same. And I think it'll just be quite an even one, really. I think they've got some difference makers. We've got some. I feel okay about it with Rodon in there, leading that back line. If he's not fit, though, don't bother asking me for a prediction.
Yeah.
Because it's going the other way. I'm not going to lie to you.
A good comment in there too, Connor, about somebody saying if they get the first goal. That is true. If we go down in the first 10 minutes, it's going to be a long match.
I've been to a fair few games. I've been to a fair few games at Leicester, and this is not what we're on here, but I can't think of many times I've come away happy in recent years. The one we won was in COVID, where it was behind closed doors, where we battered them 4-1, I think. But off the top of my head, I'm struggling to think of a positive result there. So anything positive will be good.
It even goes down to the League One days, doesn't it? Do you remember Steve Howard with the header, and stuff like that?
Last minute one.
Minute, Steve Howard,
90 odd minute. No, mate, I don't want to. It was horrible.
Yeah. It just we've never had it. It's never been great down there. I think it was last season, even when they're on that. Do you remember they're on that dour run of form, and I think Leeds went there, didn't they? And they beat us 2-0. We've never had a good record there.
I think I've seen us win there once. I think Adam Clayton scored from like 30 yards out. That's like
2011, mate. 2011. Just look. Last time we won there, 2011.
Yeah, that was a good memory. But I think the rest can't think of anything else other than that.
Was that the same season that he put a last minute equaliser in against West Ham at Upton Park?
Yeah. He was great that season. Then Warnock sold him for Paul Green, and that was a great idea. Not Colin. That's a great idea, Colin.
That is. I'll go with a 2-2 as well. Go with a 2-2. An optimistic 2-2. It's going to be high score, and Leeds going to get away with it, but Mavadidi's going to have a bad finishing day.
But this is the good thing about the Championship. Worst case scenario, like we saw it with Stoke, a few days later you get to put it right. Obviously we're backing up Leicester with Plymouth at home, I think it is.
It's good. We've got a good run as well. We've got a good run of fixtures.
Plymouth Argyle.
and the other thing, to finish on a positive, we'll have played the whole of the top 6 after Friday night, and I think, well, Southampton's been away, Ipswich has been away, Leicester will have been away, so we'll have played the three of the top 4. Obviously, we can't play ourselves, all away from home. So when you look at it in that respect, we're not in a bad place.
Definitely not. No.
Brownie, so far, what's been the worst away ground you've been to this season? This is my favorite game. Sorry, guys.
First,
can I put one out there, Brownie?
Millwall's got to be
Millwall.
Up there. What an absolute horrible.
Birmingham's up there.
Pardon?
Birmingham's up there.
Yeah.
That away end at Birmingham's great.
I'm going Millwall.
It's a shithole as well.
It's horrible. It is the pit.
Connor loves the Millwall fans as well. Just his favorite people on earth.
Just irritate me so much. Just a group of little chavs who just sit there and just stand there and just react to the away fans. It's just, well, why have you paid like £25 for a ticket? Not even watching the game.
Yeah, I'm sticking Millwall.
Interesting. All right, everyone, we'll leave it there. It's been 50 minutes. It's flown by. Brownie, thanks for joining, mate. It'll be great to get you back on whenever you can, buddy. But yeah, life is busy for all of us at the minute, I think. But yeah, muchly appreciate that. Greatly appreciate that. I'm tired, as you can tell. Guys, keep commenting, keep watching this back on the replay as well. Really appreciate that. Keep liking and subscribing, all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in a bit. Cheers.